join us today on Let's Talk About It panel, we have Shatareia Stokes and Tyra Banks. How y'all doing today, ladies?
Good. How are you? How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank y'all so much for being here. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Netflix released Reality Check, America's Next Top Model, the documentary. It was a 3-part miniseries, I guess you would say. People are still talking about it. People are still in their feelings about it, obviously. They have a lot of opinions. So we're gonna go ahead and jump on into it. Cortisha, what were your initial thoughts when you watched the documentary?
My initial thoughts were that it wasn't solely just Tyra Banks. She had a production team behind her. So anything that she had to do had to be approved. Even though this was her baby, when she started seeing things started to change and shift, she could have easily walked away. But the thing is, some people don't want to walk away from something because they're the ultimate price you have to pay. When I watched the show, they could have spoke out easily with certain things, especially with Kenya, with the situation with the model. Jay, they want to go on tour and stuff like that, talking about Tyra. However, they also had a part in it too. All they had to do was speak up. They did, as we learned in history, nothing changes until you speak up. But they were so consumed with what they're going to say, all this other stuff. All they had to do was just say, this is not aligning with my spirit, just like Dave Chappelle said, and walked away. Even though they would have had to pay an ultimate price, it still would have been better to walk away with your integrity and your dignity. So as I watched the show, it really showed me that those young ladies went on the show thinking that Tyra was going to be a protector, and in the end, she was only for self because that was her show. But then once she started seeing the fame go up, she was like, oh, we can push it a little bit more. And that's what my initial opinion about the show.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. What about you, Shatareia?
Well, I was gonna say, I think where people were saying, these things that they were doing on the show were so egregious, I do think you can't look at it at the lens from 2026. It's a lot of things, not just with reality TV, but different shows and comedy specials, different things that you see people would say you can never say now. It's not socially acceptable. Even some of the things that we do now, when we look back at it, years from now, people are like, oh my gosh, how could they say that? How could they do those things? It's not acceptable. So I just think that people are maybe just pushing it a little bit too far. I do think, like you said, that situation with where she did speak out with the dancer.
Yes,
she spoke out when it happened, and she should have been protected, right? Because she brought it up. A lot of times people were talking about things that were going on behind the scenes that they never brought to production, or, so how can, you can't be responsible for something that they don't know. So that's just kind of how I feel. Like, you can't look at it at the same lens.
I think what bothered me throughout this whole conversation is I just didn't like how everybody was piling on Tyra Banks. This black woman who, again, who's trying to create this trying to open doors for people. You know what I'm saying? And despite all of the negativity behind it, she did do this thing to initially help people initially. So I think my grievance was with this, I guess, the conversation. I didn't like how everybody was piling on, because like you said, there were a whole bunch of people that are working on this production. You got her, you have Kim Monk, and you got all the judges. Janice Dixon used to talk real crazy to them girls.
Yes.
Miss J used to talk crazy. Miss J said somebody looked like a crackhead on one episode. Like you said, Mr. J, even with that whole situation with Kenya, with her, he should have said so. He should have stopped it.
Yeah,
because Tyra wasn't on set with them then.
Immediately, as soon as she said something was happening, he should have stopped it.
Yes.
And reprimanded that man and got him off the set.
Yeah.
Period.
Yes. And I was gonna say, knowing how that feels, being in that situation myself, from being in the entertainment, being on a set and not feeling protected is a horrible feeling. Yes. And you are, to make that statement, first of all, it takes a lot for you to kind of even stop it, and because you're like, okay, all this is going on. You don't want to seem like you're being difficult. You don't, but if you're feeling uncomfortable, these people are the people that are responsible for the production, right? So she spoke up, and then even when she brought it up again at panel, they basically were like, "Oh, you should have just played it off."
And the picture that they chose, and she paused in the document. She said, "Look at the picture." They chose the picture of his hand on her thigh. And it was intentional because it's like you picked the worst pictures. Some of those pictures that they picked were the worst because after watching it, rewatching the show, some of those pictures that were the best were not shown on panel. It was more for drama and just for them to criticize because they knew who they wanted to keep. So they picked the worst picture for the one they didn't want to keep.
I'm gonna speak just, and also too, what I didn't like, I don't, because Eva, of course, she's like, I think to me, she's one of the most known top models that comes from the franchise. She did an interview with CBS Mornings, and she literally talked about, she was saying, she called it amazingly horrifying. But she also said that she didn't have the same experience as the other ladies. However, she does, of course, she feels bad about what happened.
Right.
And what I don't like is people are trying to make her speak ill of Tyra. To me, in certain situations, you can't make everybody's experience your experience. So if you have a negative experience with somebody, you can't change somebody's positive experience. Just like if I had a good experience with somebody, that doesn't change your bad experience with somebody. You know what I'm saying? So
both can be true.
Two things can be true at one time. So I just again, it's all about, I think I posted this about, it's about opinions, and everybody has a right to their opinion. In certain, everything is not black and white. There are things that are gray, and I just don't like how people are trying to make, well, my opinion is the right thing. You got to be on my side. If you're not on my side, then I'm unfriending you and all this stuff.
And that means that people don't realize what the definition of opinion means. Opinion is something personal, your personal experience of what you feel, not about what everybody else feels. And that's ridiculous.
And also, too, I want to point out, too, because again, even from a production side of the situation, it's a reality show. And I apologize if this sounds really blunt, but it's you signed up for a reality show. You didn't sign up for the Big Brother, Big Sister program. And it's not, and I know Tyra, again, she has the prizes, Tyra guaranteed the prizes, but it was never a guarantee that Tyra was going to be your mentor throughout the whole state of your career. You won the competition or you were a part of it, and now it's your job to move your career forward.
I was going to say that because I feel like a lot of people were saying like, oh, I went on the show and then my life didn't change. It's like, okay, but that's not, like you said, that wasn't the promise, right? And then even, I think, Danny, is that the one who won? Danielle?
Yeah.
Okay, it was the agency's responsibility. You were saying that they weren't sending you out. They didn't know how to market you. That's not Tyra's responsibility, So you should have left that. If you feel like you don't know how to utilize me, you're not representing me correctly, you need to leave and go to another agency, so.
I will say, and we got to wrap things up, ladies. Okay. I will say, I think it was tacky that Tyra did say we're going to do Cycle 25.
Because originally the documentary was not supposed to be with her in it. It was a documentary supposed to be for Miss J. And she signed on to it. And I feel like she signed on to it to promote the next cycle. Because once you start the documentary, it was telling about her story. I said, what that have to do with America Next Time? You talking about Tyra? Okay.
Well, I guess we'll see what changes they make in Cycle 25 and what the ratings will be.
Exactly. Yes. We'll definitely see what happens next. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining me on this conversation. It's a lot to unpack, but unfortunately we have to go. So again, thank y'all so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. And let's keep this conversation going. Please send me an email at theculture@wjbf.com or go to our website, wjbf.com/culture.